Think your childhood is over? Not really, because some of the things you learned as a child may still be quietly influencing the way you think, react, and behave today. Not because your childhood controls your entire personality, but because your brain was learning patterns long before you were old enough to question them. Think about it. When you're a child, you don't have much experience, so your brain watches the people around you, how they react, what makes them angry, what gets you attention, what gets you punished, what gets you praised. And slowly, your brain starts building rules. Not written rules, invisible ones. Rules like don't make people angry, don't ask for too much, be useful if you want people to like you, never show weakness, stay quiet, always be perfect. You might never remember consciously learning these rules, but your brain can still remember the pattern. And this is where childhood can influence adult behavior. Imagine a child who gets criticized every time they make a mistake. They might grow up becoming extremely careful. They check their work again, then again. They hesitate before making decisions. And even when nobody is criticizing them anymore, the fear of being wrong can still appear. The environment changed, but the learned response remained. Or imagine someone who grew up being rewarded for being the good kid. They learned that being helpful, quiet, successful, or agreeable gets approval. Years later, they might struggle to say no. They might feel guilty when they disappoint someone. They might put everyone else's needs ahead of their own. Not because they're weak, because their brain learned that being accepted was connected to being useful. And here's something even more interesting. Your brain doesn't only learn from what happens to you, it also learns from what it watches. A child watching constant conflict may become highly sensitive to tension. A child growing up around unpredictable reactions may start scanning people's moods. A child who watches adults constantly worry about money may grow up feeling anxious about financial security, even when their own situation is completely different. The brain is constantly asking, what should I expect next? And once it finds a pattern, it becomes easier to repeat that pattern than to question it. That's why you can sometimes react emotionally before you even understand why. Someone raises their voice, you immediately become quiet. Someone takes longer to reply, you start assuming something is wrong. Someone criticizes you, you feel like you failed completely. The present situation might be small, but your reaction can be connected to an older emotional pattern. And this is where people often misunderstand psychology. Your childhood does not permanently program you like a computer. You are not trapped by what happened when you were young. The brain can change. You can notice old patterns, question them, and build different responses. Maybe you learn that saying no makes people angry. You can learn that healthy relationships can survive boundaries. Maybe you learn that mistakes make you worthless. You can learn that mistakes are information. Maybe you learn that you always have to please people. You can learn that being respected doesn't require being useful to everyone. The first step isn't changing your entire personality. It's noticing the invisible rule. When you have a strong reaction, ask yourself, why does this feel bigger than it should? What am I afraid will happen? And where might I have learned this response? You might discover that the person reacting today is sometimes still following a rule created years ago. Your childhood isn't your destiny, but some of its lessons may still be running quietly in the background. And once you notice the program, you finally get the chance to rewrite it.